Under the blazing Texas sun, the air shimmered over Highway 90 as cars crawled to a stop. Drivers leaned out of their windows, squinting at something ahead. At first, it looked like a pile of leaves or maybe an old tarp, but as they got closer, they realized it moved. A young bobcat, no bigger than a house cat, stood firmly in the middle of the lane. Its fur was dusty and matted, golden eyes sharp and unafraid. Every time someone honked or tried to inch forward, the bobcat hissed and darted just enough to block the way, refusing to leave. Deputy Daniel Carter was on his way back from patrol when the call came over the radio. Reports of an aggressive animal disrupting traffic, not unusual in the countryside. But the dispatcher's tone caught his attention. Deputy Carter, drivers say it's acting strange, not just scared, like it's waiting for something. That made him sit up straighter. Unit 12 responding. ETA 3 minutes. He answered, flipping on his lights. As his cruiser rolled up to mile marker 67, Daniel could see the cluster of vehicles and a small crowd standing on the shoulder, pointing toward the road. He stepped out into the sweltering heat, adjusting his hat and resting a hand on his belt out of habit. "What do we have?" he asked a man in a sweat-stained baseball cap. "It's that cat, officer," the man said, pointing. "Been running back and forth for at least 20 minutes. Won't let nobody pass, but it ain't wild like. It keeps looking at us, mackin' noise." Daniel raised his binoculars. Sure enough, the bobcat wasn't just pacing aimlessly, it was stopping, staring, then running a few steps and stopping again. And then he saw it, a thin strap around the animal's leg, glinting blue in the sun. "This isn't right," he muttered. He backed away and radioed the local wildlife officer. Within 10 minutes, a white pickup arrived. Out stepped Mark Lewis, a rugged man in his 40s with weathered skin and a calm presence. "Thanks for coming, Mark," Daniel said, shaking his hand. "No problem," Mark replied. "That's the one, that's him. And he's got some kind of tag on his leg." Mark raised his binoculars and frowned. "That's no tracking tag. Too small. And the blue marker, huh? Let me get closer." They moved slowly toward the bobcat, careful not to spook it. But to their surprise, the bobcat didn't run. It stayed about 30 feet ahead, let out a sharp, almost pleading sound, then turned toward the tree line and trotted a few steps, stopping to look back at them. "You see that?" Mark murmured. It wants us to follow." Daniel exchanged a skeptical look but nodded. "Let's go." Mark checked the strap through his binoculars again as they walked. "There's a number on it," he said suddenly. "JW 8891. That's a hiker registration code. Not ours." Daniel's stomach sank. "You're saying this bobcat has a hiker's tag?" "Why?" Mark's face hardened. "We need to find out." They radioed for backup, but decided not to wait. The bobcat led them off the road into the woods, weaving through trees and underbrush, always staying just far enough ahead to keep them moving. After about half a mile, Daniel spotted boot prints on the trail, large, fresh. Mark crouched to inspect them. "Man's, maybe size 12. He came this way not long ago," he confirmed. The bobcat kept leading them until they reached a steep slope. At the bottom lay a dry creek bed, and there, partly hidden under a fallen tree, was a man still. "Sir, can you hear me?" Daniel called. The man stirred weakly and raised one arm. "He's alive," Mark said with relief. They scrambled down the slope, the bobcat agilely finding its own path. Up close, they saw the man's leg was pinned under the tree. His skin was pale, lips cracked. Daniel handed him water. "Hang in there. Help is coming." "What happened?" The man coughed and rasped. "Tracking. My bobcat. His final test before release. Storm. Tree fell. Couldn't reach Beacon, so tied it to him. Told him, find help. Mark blinked in astonishment. You trained this Bobcat, too. Go to the road. The man managed a faint smile. Not trained. Just taught him roads mean people. People mean help. The Bobcat, now sitting calmly by the man's side, licked its paw and glanced at them, as if to say, told you so. By the time the rescue team arrived and freed the man, the story had already spread among the bystanders. A few weeks later, Daniel visited the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center just outside Austin. The man, whose name was Jack Whitman, was recovering there, and so was the Bobcat. Jack greeted him warmly from his wheelchair. Deputy Carter, good to see you, you too. How's the hero? Daniel asked, nodding toward the enclosure. Inside, the Bobcat, stronger and sleeker now, prowled gracefully. He's thriving, Jack said proudly. We named him Ranger. He's not quite ready for the wild yet. But Mark, who'd joined them, added, we're starting a new program. Wildlife ambassadors, animals like Ranger, who bridge the gap. He'll help teach people about his kind. Daniel watched Ranger pad up to the fence. Golden eyes sharp yet calm. Not bad for a little guy who blocked traffic, he said softly. Jack smiled. He saved my life. Maybe he can save a few more by changing how people see Bobcats. Asterisk.